Listen, you have the proof. God has given you evidence to reassure you that what he has spoken to your life concerning the promises, that it is indeed going to come to pass. God has given you proof and evidence, but what has transpired is that somebody has spoken an evil report to you concerning what God has promised you. And you over there trying to listen to the evil report instead of believing the report of God. God said that when he promised you a thing, when he speaks a thing, it's not going to return void to him. God said whatever comes out of his mouth, whatever he speaks, whatever the word that's spoken out of his mouth, he said it will go out where he has sent it and it will accomplish it. And not will it only accomplish what God has sent it out to do, but it will prosper in that thing. Now God has made you some promises, okay? And you have the evidence. You have proof of it. God has given you some shape, form, or fashion of the proof of what he said. God said, do not believe the evil report. In prayer today, God reminded me of how he told Moses to send out spies to the land of Canaan, to spy out the land, because God told them that he would give them that land, and that land will be flowing with what? Milk and honey, right? That's what God says. So what did Moses do? Moses sent out his best, and sure enough, they went out. Now listen at this. Numbers 13, Numbers, Numbers 13 and verse 27 says this. Yes, this is what the spies said. They came back and said this. They said, yes, the land is flowing with milk and honey. And here is the fruit of it. Which means what? They brought back the evidence. Which means what? If somebody tell you you're going to be a multi-millionaire, God has spoken and said you're going to be a multi-millionaire. If God has spoken and said that you will get married, God has spoken and said that you will be healed. If God has spoken and said that your marriage will be repaired, if God has spoken and told you whatever, God will send you proof and evidence of what he has spoken. So they're the spies. They're saying the land is indeed flowing with milk and honey. And this is the fruit of it. Now, when you go down to verse 33 in the same chapter, Numbers 13, verse 33, this is what it reads. It says, and there we saw the giants. You can't be afraid of the giants. Why? Because greater is God which is in you than he that is in the world. So whatever is appearing to be a giant in your life that appears to see that it cannot be moved, God said, don't worry about that mountain. It shall crumble. It shall. Listen, it says this, and there we saw, this is spies, the same spies that came back with the fruit. Now they're saying this, and there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which come of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sights. Did you hear that? Now, first and foremost, the enemy always attack your mind. That's why God says in Philippians 4, think on these things. Whatsoever things are lovely, true, honest, just, if there be of a good report, right? If it's virtuous, right? If there be any praise, think on these things. Here these spies are saying, we were in our own eyes. They were saying how we saw ourselves. I see myself as small compared to the giants. And because they saw themselves as grasshoppers, it says, so we were in their eyes. What did God say in his word? He said, as a man thinketh, so is he. So because they saw themselves as grasshoppers, which means what? They were thinking it that they were grasshoppers, they began to act and flow as a grasshopper, as something what? Insignificant, as something as being weak. And therefore the giants saw them as the grasshopper. That's why it says we were in our own sight. Can I tell you something today? Get out of your way. Get out of your way. Get out of your thoughts. Get out of your sight. Get out of your ear. That's what God says, what? To have a spiritual mind and to walk in the spirit. Because when you walk in the spirit, you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. The lust of the flesh will have you acting like somebody who you are not. Did you hear me? God said the spiritual mind gives you a what? Life and peace. They were not operating from a spiritual mindset. They were not operating from walking in the spirit. They were operating from the flesh because they were in a state, listen to this, they were in a state of comparison. That's why God says this. God says, well, do not be afraid and do not be dismayed of the great multitude. Great multitude means it's something that looks bigger than you. It looks like a giant. God said, don't be afraid of the great multitude. Why? Because the battle don't even belong to us. It's his. So anything that is appearing great, God said, let me handle that. Let me deal with that because I'm greater. That's my fight. That's my battle. You just be obedient to where I have told you to do, be, and have. You just trust my word. And that is where the spies went wrong. But there were some bold people in the camp of the children of Israel that said, I will trust God wholeheartedly. And they were Caleb and Joshua. And they said, no. We will not believe the evil report. We will not believe that evil report. Why? Because Caleb and Joshua saw the fruit. They saw the fruit. They saw the fruit, the evidence that came from the land. Now, listen at this. Listen at this. Now, if the land was not able to be conquered, if they were truly grasshoppers, they would have never been able to bring back evidence. Did you hear me? If God has not deemed your feet to tread in land that belongs to you, if God has not called you to it, you will not be able to pull anything from it. If God has not called you to a thing, you will not receive it. But the fact that they brought fruit back, the evidence, proof to show that our God never fails. He ain't no liar. The land is flowing with milk and honey. And here is the fruit of it. If they did not come back with fruit, then that would have meant what? That land was not theirs. God will never lead you into a place where he have not ordained you to be. Did you hear me? God will never lead you to a place where he have not ordained you to be. God will always lead you to where he has called you. And where he has called you, there will be fruit. And you will see proof and evidence of it. So forget the evil report. Because some of y'all are hearing an evil report today about a situation, about a promise that God has promised you. God has promised you a lot. And you are looking at from the other side with your own sight. You seeing yourself as a grasshopper. Seeing yourself as not being qualified. And God said he has qualified you. He has justified you. And he will verify you. It ain't got nothing to do, listen to me carefully. I understand it's amazing to have an awesome credit score, okay? It is awesome to have bukus of money in your bank. But can I tell you something? That God does not operate off a credit score. He doesn't. He does not operate about how much you have in your bank account. That's not how God operates. God don't never try to work on something that you are working with. Why? Because God wants his glory to come into the room. He wants to be glorified. See, if God used your supply, then he ain't gonna be glorified. Why? Because you'll be over there saying, yes, I did it. It was because I had so-and-so in the bank. It was because my credit score was this, that, and the other. It was because I did this, that. God said, no. I don't want that. He will do you just like he did Gideon. God said, listen, you got too many people fighting. You got too many warriors. You got too many soldiers. And if I allow you to go and fight them, then at the end of the day, when you win, because you're going to win this war, you're going to win this battle, you're going to win this fight. At the end, I don't want y'all saying y'all did it because y'all was in such great of a number. So God said, take them down by the brook, take them down by the river, take them down by the lake, and let them drink. And God said, those that lap like a dog, keep them. Keep them. And Gideon had thousands upon thousands of warriors, of soldiers with him. And after he took them down to the water to drink, he only had 300. Okay, I guess I said 100. He only had 300 to work with. He only had 300 to work with. And Gideon was like, how in the world, God? God said, listen, not by your might, nor by your power, but by my spirit. I'm going to get this done with just 300. And when it's all over, they're going to say nobody but who? Nobody but God. Why? Because God said he will get the glory. So listen, don't believe the report. Leave the grasshopper talkers. Leave the grasshopper talkers alone. When they call your phone to talk grasshopper conversation, don't answer. If they come to your house and knock on the door, ring the doorbell, ding dong, don't open the door. Do not let the grasshopper talkers come in. Do not allow them to come in with the evil report. God said, trust him wholly. Trust him wholly. God said he is faithful to what he has promised you. He that has promised is faithful to it. God said, I am not a man that I should lie, neither am I the son of man that I should repent. If I said it, I will do it. And if I spoke it, I will make good on that thing. God said his word ain't gonna return back, boy. So do not listen to the grasshopper talkers today. Trust the report of God, which is a good report. If you have not received evidence or proof just of yet, just wait. The proof is on its way. The evidence is on its way. And when you listen to me, when you receive the proof and the evidence, that's going to edify you. It's going to build your faith even the more. Because that's what was supposed, that's what the fruit was supposed to do for them anyway. When it said, yes, the land is flowing with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. The fruit of it was faith. The fruit of it was the faith. The fruit was supposed to encourage them. But right after they said, yes, it's with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it, then they turn around and say that we saw our own selves in our own sight. We were as grasshoppers. Don't have a grasshopper talk today. Don't be chirping over there. Don't be, I hear a grasshopper sound. Don't be over there. Don't be grasshopper thinking. Don't be over there grasshopper thinking. Don't be a grasshopper today. God said we are more than conquerors. We are more than conquerors. God said in him we are victorious. It's not by our might, nor by our power, but only by God's spirit. So why in the world are you trying to figure this thing out in your own might? You'll never win that way. You'll never win that way. You'll never gain the land that way. You can only gain the land, gain the possession of what God has promised you by his spirit, by his leading. Okay? So trust God. Keep the grasshoppers out. Grasshoppers out. People are always saying positive vibes. Keep a conquering vibe. That's the vibe of the Spirit of God. A positive vibe can come from any place, okay? All positive vibes aren't holy. Oh, that's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother golden nugget. All positive vibes are not holy, okay? I'm gonna do a golden nugget. I hear you, God. I'm gonna do a golden nugget on that one sooner. I will. But listen, have the mind of Christ. Think on these things, on what your Father has spoken to you, and believe that report, that good report, and watch your Father bring it to pass. Watch him bring it right before your eyes. Put it right in your hand. Park it right in your garage. Put your clothes and your furniture in it. Oh, you listen to what I'm saying? Put the ring on your finger. Do I have to keep going? Grow you ever more in God, in the spirit realm. God said he will increase us more and more. He will increase us more and more, us and his children. God is about increase, not decrease, not decay, not delay, not drought, not doubt. God is in the increasing business. That's why it says in Luke 2:52, Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature, and then what? Gained favor with God and with man. So God is in the increasing business. And when God increased, the enemy has to flee. Just as soon as you hear a bad report, that's the enemy trying to get you to go to a dead end. And God said he had called you to live. Everything that he has promised you is lively. Why? Because his spirit is quick, it's alive. So don't let the enemy bring death to your situation. Try to bring death to you, to restrain you and restrict you from receiving what God has for you. Don't allow the enemy to do that. Don't allow the enemy to switch the tracks, because you're headed in the right direction. But the enemy, just like a train, he'll switch the tracks and cause it to detour. Say, the devil is a liar. You will stay on the straight path. God said he will make every crooked place straight. And God has made the pathway straight for you. So stay in the report. As long as you keep the report of God, which is his word, then you will not be what? You will not be detoured. You will not be taken to a different route. You will always be in the route of God. God said he will lead us in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. You will be led by God, okay? Okay? Ask God for wisdom. And in the wisdom, make sure you get understanding. Ask God for his knowledge. Because if you lack it, if you don't have it, God said you will be placed in captivity and you will perish. So make sure you get that knowledge from God, not the knowledge of the world. Get the knowledge of God. Get the wisdom of God, not the wisdom of the world, because God said the wisdom of the world is as foolish to him. So get the things from God, his knowledge, his wisdom, his understanding, his revelation, okay? Get it from God, and you'll see that no devil in hell, nothing will be able to distract you. Why? Because, listen, I can go on and on. God says this, those who are on milk, ain't nothing wrong with milk, because milk is for babes, okay? But when you have been a babe for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, then God says this, when you continue to use milk, that means that you are unskilled in the wisdom of righteousness. Did you hear me? God said you are unskilled in the word of righteousness. But God said those who have meat, those who are eating meat, God said they are able to have their senses exercised so that they will have what? Discernment to know good from evil. So listen, ask God to give you discernment. I'm already at 17 minutes. Let me get out of here. But listen, whose report will you believe? You have the proof, you have the evidence. Go ahead and possess the land. Go ahead and possess the land. You have the proof, you have the evidence. Go and possess the land. Why? Because you already have a good report. I'll talk to y'all soon. If y'all didn't get this thing, it's a long one. Rewind and watch again. But in the meantime, in between time, if you take just a little bit of what I'm telling you and apply to your life to the best of your ability, you won't ever have to mask a smile. Why? Because your smiles will always be genuine. Be blessed, stay blessed, be blessed, stay blessed, be blessed, stay blessed. Possess the land. Y'all know what's coming next.